to Jacinta Price, though, who's joining us via Skype from Alice Springs. Jacinta, I wanted to get onto this issue of the NRL Indigenous All-Stars game. Suggestions the players there are going to say they don't want the national anthem played. This is tragic to me as an Australian. I think we do things together, and it's an anthem we should be able to all sing, bring whatever our own personal history is and unite under the banner of Australia. But now we're looking at this sort of divisive stand, and even Ken Wyatt, as the Indigenous Affairs Minister, has said that this should not happen.
Yeah, look, it is really, really disappointing, considering the fact that they are there to represent Australia, all of Australia, not just Indigenous Australia. And there are children who are non-Indigenous who look up to these players and see them as also representing them. And, you know, the one thing that disappoints me is the fact that they lack pride in their own country, and they're representing our country as an entirety. If you don't have pride in your country, then why are you there playing on behalf of your country? I mean, the children that are going to look up to them are going to say, well, why don't they have pride in the country that I love, that I come from? And, you know, if we want to actually really solve some of our most important issues, it starts with actually having pride in our country to begin with, to do that. You know, these gentlemen are on six-figure salaries, and they're privileged. They're privileged as a result of the country that they come from, that they live in, that have given them this opportunity to do what they're doing.
Yeah, this is the trouble, that whatever political issues, social issues, even symbolic issues we might want to bring to bear, we can bring them to bear under the banner of this nation, and all power to them if they want to argue for measures to reduce Indigenous disadvantage. All power to them if they want to argue for an Indigenous voice or recognition in the Constitution, whatever issue they want. And they can do that under our flag, under our Constitution. But it's just so sad that this sort of thing is encouraged, I think. So many people Indigenous, non-Indigenous, left, right, whatever. We have people who want to encourage this divisiveness rather than looking to what can unite us.
And it's not just division that's being encouraged, it's the perpetuation of the victim mentality that's being encouraged. You know, I mean, you can get to a point in your life where you're earning a six-figure salary and representing your country, and yet you are still somehow a victim. And really, that does not do any justice for the real victims out there. I mean, you know, I'd like to see these young fellas stand up for you know, 2-year-olds who are raped in communities, or you know, just the other week I was in court because a 17-year-old had been raped by her own father, who came from Yuendamu. The following week, when her perpetrator was found guilty on all charges, her auntie who supported her was then attacked with an axe. I mean, I've spoken to former NRL players about some of these issues, and they acknowledge them. They even acknowledge the fact that within their own families there's, you know, sexual abuse. But, you know, if they're man enough to stand up and say, we don't want to sing an anthem, why aren't they man enough to stand up and call out perpetrators or call out this kind of behaviour, which is what is leading to higher rates of incarceration and suicide amongst our kids and our youth? Like, let's be real. The national anthem and its lyrics are not an issue that should be our priority. The priority should be ensuring that our own children are taken care of within our own communities. I mean, we have to get up and we have to acknowledge elders. There's acknowledgements, you know, all over the place, over and over again. And we're expected to acknowledge elders past and present. We don't know who these elders are. We also are very aware that in some of our communities, these elders are perpetrators themselves. Yet we have to pretend like that's not the case. You know, it's like turning a blind eye to one thing and claiming to be a victim to another, and then instilling a perpetual victim mentality, as well as no pride for one's country. I mean, where does that lead us?
Yeah, it's a very powerful points, a series of powerful points you made there, Jacinta. This is a rejection of the national anthem, in other words, a rejection of the country that they live in. What's your direct message to the players themselves then, what they could do with their platform rather than what they seem to be planning to do?
Well, to begin with, recognise the privilege that you have to be in that position, because there are underprivileged Australians, non-Indigenous Australians, as well as Indigenous Australians in this country who struggle on a daily basis, who don't care what the lyrics are in our anthem, because they care more about whether they're going to be sexually abused again or whether they're going to get where they're going to get their next meal from. So I'd suggest that they seek out what the real issues are, and if they're real about standing up for the rights of Indigenous people or Australians in general, then take on one of those issues. Use your platform to fight for children who are being sexually abused. They are, after all, the future. They are the ones that are looking up to them as their role models.
Yeah, and the other point you made about welcome to country and all of that is I caught up with Ken Wyatt just the other day, actually, the Federal Indigenous Affairs Minister, and I said to him that it's been incredible over the last 10 years in particular, the way the whole country has embraced that as an act of reconciliation all around the country at all sorts of major sporting events and all sorts of events. We start off with a welcome to country. It seems very sad and divisive that while that's going on, now we're having a lot of Aboriginal activists saying they want to shun the national anthem. It seems a paradox.
When will the demands end? They will never end. As long as there are people out there who are prepared to, play into this never-ending victim mentality and enable this behaviour, the demands will never end. As we can see, we see people who are privileged, who live on six-figure salaries, who are doing really well, who continue to look back over their shoulder at the past and say, yeah, I might be doing all right, but this happened. So therefore, we have to continually be, recognised that this is the case. I mean, we are not the only human beings in the world who have experienced, that have experienced trauma in our lives. This has happened to human beings the world over in our global history.
Jacinta, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Jacinta Price there from Alice.